you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here this evening for most of these students you see on stage. The last time they had a concert was 2 years ago. So we are super proud of them. They've been working very hard. And tonight I basically just programmed a lot of different type of ethnic, regional type of music. That first one was written to basically give the impression that the composer had of traveling through Spain, which I've never been fortunate to do, but that was kind of the thinking behind that. So we opened up with that. We're going to have one from the Middle East. We're going to have one from the Deep South, a Cajun piece. And this next one we're going to do is a march. Carl King wrote hundreds of pieces of music, which if you've ever tried to write a piece of music, you realize it's very difficult to write a piece of music, let alone write a good piece. But he was a very prolific march composer. Lived in Ohio, born in Ohio, I think Paintersville. So one of the things we like to do is give students the opportunity to conduct through the year. It gives them a chance to be in front of the band and experience what that's like. It also preps them early on if they want to further that and maybe try out for drum major for the marching band. So we do a little bit of that through the fall, and then we'll keep ramping that up through the winter and the spring, and it gives them a chance to be in front of their peers. So this next piece by Carl King, Burma Patrol, will be conducted by freshman trumpet player Olivia Kukamaris. All right, one of the things I wanted to do tonight was introduce, at least read off some of the names. I know you can read these, but I do appreciate these students going through the last year and a half or so, obviously severely disrupted, really formative, a formative time for their collaborating in an ensemble. And again, for most of them, the last concert was like 7th grade. Even one student has just started last year, so has never had a concert. So really, really excited about it. Plus, you're also looking at 2 different class periods. So we only had the chance to rehearse after school, as parents know, today as a whole group. So it's fun for them to be able to hear the whole thing. Having the class divided has a lot of advantages where I can hear students a little bit better. And then coming together, it's encouragement for them. But We have a lot of percussionists, so let me read off because we're going to do a piece now that involves a washboard and all kinds of stuff back there. We have Stefano Asensio, Noah Boswell, Nathaniel Eddy, Connor Kobita, Isaac Morris, Adam Pittman, Nicholas Schuster, Garrett Thomas, and Alex Zimmerman. And we are now going to play Roland Barrett's Zydeco Cajun Crawdad Dance. It's gonna get a little vocal, so just when you hear it, just expect it. It's not really like a normal thing you'd expect here in a concert, so just warning you. We normally don't yell, but that was appropriate. So. I've never really been to a Zydeco Cajun Crawdad dance. How about you? I mean, it's just crazy, but I guess they exist. Okay, we are going to list off now some of our woodwinds. We have the lone flutist, Zdenek Bublak, also playing piccolo. Clarinet, we have Samantha Brown, Sophia Manzari, Vanessa Marcanio, Grace Senaway, and Robbie Williams. Go ahead, you can get it. Bass clarinet is Lily Goldbach. In the alto sax section, we have Abigail Bolin, Alex Brzezinski, Gavin Kimberling, Chris McKay, Andrew Nelson, and Ben Price. And our lone tenor sax man is Russell Willison. Okay, so Roland Barrett has written several things that just incorporate some ethnic style music, or it's at least influence. It may not be a direct style. Al Cabara had a little bit of a direct Spanish connection with the song form or song style. But this is just one that Roland Barrett entitles Arabian Dances. So during the course of the year, we will have several selections in the folder we're working on that we actually won't play in a concert. We just don't have enough time to put it all together, but I like to have them read as much literature as possible. So that's one of the reasons I like to do a wide variety of styles. The next piece, well, before I get to the next piece, let me go ahead and read off our brass players. We have a section of trumpets that includes 9, 1 lady in there and 8 gentlemen, and 8 of them are in 7th period. 1 of them is in 5th period. So it's fun for them to be able to actually get all together, especially for Colin. But our trumpet section is Troy Angel, Alex Chana, Gavin Gray, Olivia Kukamaris, Bobby Mitchell, Colin Musa, Jacob Simcoe, Max Sunderland, and Owen Weibel. Trombone is Logan Slapinski. I I listed Bain because Bain comes in study hall. He's a senior, but he's not technically in the group, and he's been sitting in and rehearsing, just not here for the concert. But I thought I'd give him credit because he's been a big help. On baritone is Matthew Gavorchik, Tyler McConville, and Jack Mitchell. And then our tubist is Dom Bodnar. This next selection, I'm going to just show you something quickly, is nothing I've ever seen ever in a piece of music. The Great American Locomotive Chase was inspired by Civil War history, and I'll talk a little bit about the composer, but he decides to go ahead and give us an incredibly detailed the Great Civil War train chase, where there was a Confederate train being hunted and chased down by the Union troops. And it goes into incredible detail. I've never seen anyone do this, but he decided to list this, which is great. Why I brought it up, though, is because in the spring, as most of you know, the students are going to go to Universal and Disney. Robert W. Smith is the gentleman who does the music workshops for Universal. And I've actually worked with him when I was in the Air Force Band. We commissioned a piece, and he likes to write a lot of pieces of music that are programmatic in the fact that when you listen to it, it sounds like machinery. He wrote a thing about the Wright brothers in flight called 12 Seconds to the Moon, which was about the first flight of 12 seconds, eventually going to the Apollo missions, and then you hear a rocket take off. So as you can imagine, this piece of music, the Great Locomotive Chase, should be a dead giveaway as to the sounds that you're going to be hearing. But he really does a great job with this type of stuff. And so the kids are going to be working on music for Despicable Me after we're finished with our concerts. And they will join Wind Symphony and orchestra members for one large orchestra, studio orchestra at Universal. And they will get to record a bit of a soundtrack to part of that film. So it's pretty exciting for them. And they get to do Foley sound effects. Jack Foley was a guy that kind of was credited in the early 20th century when film started to take off with sound, and he figured out that you needed to add recording sounds after the fact. You couldn't just do it live. Sometimes they did, sometimes radio shows did, but Robert W. Smith has the students perform the sound effects along with the music. Hope you enjoy this, and then after we're finished, this is our last number, they will exit, join you in the audience, and then the Wind Symphony will come up on stage. And then when they're finished, the concert band will join us for one final short Christmas number. This is the Great Locomotive Chase. Peters Township High School Concert Band. All right, you guys can be dismissed, and we'll take just a short 5 minutes at most. We'll reset with the Wind Symphony, and we'll continue. Okay, this is our Wind Symphony, as you know, and this happens to be a class that fits within one class size, so we meet as an entire ensemble. Third period. Some years it's bigger. This year it's a smaller group. Next year it's probably going to flip. It's probably going to be a larger group, and it gives me a chance to hear all the students. But it's a lot of fun this year, and we are again going to play a variety of music for you that I like to program. That first piece kind of describes all of our brains, I think, after the last 2 years scramble. Anyways, we got that out of our system. So the next piece that we're going to play, the Maelstrom, is another exciting piece, probably similar in some nature with a lot of dynamic changes, but we hope you enjoy this. I didn't say too much about Robert Smith on that one because that one wasn't maybe as programmatic. It was very furioso, but we didn't have sound effects on that one. Next, please. Marches. The bane of many of us in bands. When you play a march, in case you don't know, there's never any rests. It's really, it's a bear on the chops. It's very tiring to play marches, and that's kind of the tradition of, from Sousa on forward. Marches had their origins in military bands that actually had combat functions, believe it or not, with brass and drums that stem way back. So bands, like you see on stage, weren't really established yet, but marches were primarily the only music being written for bands. And the ensembles were all over the place. Orchestra was pretty established. We knew the string section, the brass and the woodwinds, and the percussion. But when it came to wind bands, that really wasn't established till the late 1940s, believe it or not. But the marches were always there. Fred J. Ricketts was the guy that composed this next one. If you look in the program, it doesn't say that, does it? It says Kenneth Alford, because that was his pen name. So he decided to write with another pen name for some of his marches. That happened years ago, by the way, with some lady composers. Women composers used a different name, so people didn't know who it was. Don't have to do that anymore. But Kenneth Alford was the pen name for Fred J. Ricketts. Was a military officer, and some of you who have golfed, you know what a bogey is, and that's what this is referring to. And so back in the day, those guys would say, hey, on the military course, they'd say, was Colonel Bogey good to you today? You know, in other words, how'd you shoot today? You didn't have too many bogeys. And that was it. That was all that inspired him to write this march, which is going to be a very, it's a famous march from, I think, what do we say, David? Bridge over River Kwai. Is that? I think. So this is a march that you may recognize, and it's called Colonel Bogey. And it will tire them out. Mystic Portal is written by a composer who I've come to really enjoy listening to the last few years, mainly because there's not many gentlemen out there, or ladies, that have this type of a resume. Sean O'Loughlin actually writes for rock groups, top 40, orchestras, bands. I mean, it's just bizarre the amount of styles of music that he writes for, and tours as a musical director with untold. You can look him up online and look at his resume, but he writes some really fun band music, and I think that's what's neat. And I've seen some interviews with him, and that's really kind of his passion as he got into the education field and wanting to inspire students. So he writes some very interesting things, and so every time you come to a concert of mine, you're probably going to see something from Sean O'Loughlin. And this is a piece that he wrote entitled Mystic Portal. let me read off our names of our students here in the Wind Symphony on flute. Zdenek also plays with the Wind Symphony on the side, in addition to his concert band by day, but subbed with us is Zdenek Black, Victoria Marcanio, and Angelise Zakis on flute. We have two oboes, Cecile Marie Snyder and Sophia Wilson. The clarinet section is Emma Hardy, Alexis Kirch, Gabriella Manzari, Greta Maresca, and this is Greta's last concert with us, sadly. She is moving to Colorado, so how about a hand for Greta? Olivia Repsher, Journey Thompson, and Tyler White rounds out the clarinet section. On bass clarinet is Ethan White. Our lone alto sax is Aaron Brula. And on tenor sax, Logan Desau. On horn, Teresa Aspinall. Trumpet, David Bentz, Sean Doty, and Elena Wasilewski. And subbing tonight is Jason Briegel. The lone trombone is Alan Price. And on tuba, Justin Kazmarski. Percussion, John Dalzotto, Aidan Donaghy, Paul Falcione, Luca Giancola, Theodore Malencia, Ethan Terza, and Cole Woodward. Okay, this piece is sort of one of those programmatic pieces that's attributed to the change of the winds in Oklahoma. It's kind of unfortunate that we have this planned, and the horrible disaster that just occurred this weekend in the Midwest. So I know our thoughts and prayers are with all those people. Those just horrific storms came through. But essentially, the experience of living in the Midwest and having the changing winds is what inspired Randall Standridge to write this. So this might even have some singing in it, believe it or not, if you listen closely. And after we're finished, the concert band will then join the Wind Symphony. They'll just file into these extra seats for one final number. And seniors, if you wouldn't mind going after this, when you guys put your stuff back, to the steps for a photo. The steps that head down to the cafeteria. That's just for the seniors, okay? Okay, hope you enjoy The Winds of Change. concert band join us for one last number, if you would just indulge us for a minute. This will be fun. We've never done this. The kids have worked on this. It's a short piece. It's just a fanfare for Christmas that is going to give you just little samples of Christmas songs. So see if you can count how many are in this. And we hope you enjoy this. It is really, really a blessing. It's really nice to be back and playing in a pretty normal situation. So the kids have been very, very patient, playing with masks and bell covers is not the easiest thing. It's a little more difficult. It does change the sound of the instruments. It changes the intonation. And I'm really impressed with how they've adjusted to it. So we're making it work, and we're fortunate to be able to play and be in this situation. I want to thank you for your support. And again, we are really happy to be back on the stage. And this is we had a little bit of a concert back in the spring on a limited basis. So this is kind of our first big deal, I guess, if you will. What I want to also point out in your program are the other events. The orchestra was last week, and they've been playing just fabulously. We have Room 100 is tomorrow night, so radically different. Think like pentatonics with like 16 people. There's going to be a lot of lights, and they'll put on quite a concert for you. Then Wednesday will be the jazz band. Thursday will be all the choirs, so that's multiple groups and soloists and things like that. And then if you will notice the special event, February 12th. And again, we were not able to have this last year, but this has been a long-standing event since 2001, I believe. And the Meatballs and Music has been the primary fundraiser that does allow us to spend monies traveling or reduce costs for travel. And the tickets that the boosters provide are for students, for parents to sell. And we can't do it without the help of the community and everyone pitching in to do it. So we are fortunate, hopefully, that things move along with COVID and whatnot, that we can still have a fairly normal event. That event, if you don't know, is an evening or a day, rather, from 3 to 8 to showcase all of our ensembles. And it'll be everything from what you've heard tonight, jazz band, the choirs, the orchestra, and then in the gym, even the marching band and the winter guard. So there's quite an array of groups that will be performing throughout that day. Students will serve all the guests that come. So most of you probably are aware of that, but for some of you that don't, I just wanted to give you that little backstory on that. And again, I believe that the boosters are out with tickets and envelopes ready to distribute for families. So if you have any questions, just ask them about that. And we'll be working towards that trip in the spring. Hopefully all things go well. We're excited about that for the kids. So, how are we looking back here? All right, they're like, please, Mr. Barney, stop talking now. All right, this is it. Fanfare for Christmas. Have a great Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, safe New Year. It's great to see everybody here, and I look forward to seeing you at Meatballs and Music and through the spring as well. Enjoy. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Please be careful going home, and I look forward to seeing you soon.